Awesome. Welcome to the Evolving View. This show is a weekly live learning and discussion experience with Evolvme practitioners where we discuss all things spiritual. And what is really great about this show is that there is no spiritual subject that is off limits. And that's pretty cool. We are about real spiritual talk, unfiltered. So, welcome to the show. And I'm super excited to introduce everybody that's here tonight. So, Derek McBride, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, this is Derek McBride. I do mediumship, intuitive readings, some healing work, but channeling information from spirit, and I guess I just love that relationship between spirit and people, and connecting people to spirit and connecting people to their highest, truest self, and just empowering people and feeling that shift when they realize that they're more than just this human experience.
Wow.
The ultimate goal, the ultimate beauty, just seeing that in people.
And don't we need more of that in the world right now?
Absolutely. Well, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So, Lauri Sheffer, who are you and what do you do?
Sorry, I have my dog at the door. Hello, I'm Lauri Sheffer. I have my blueberry pie shirt on just so you can see.
That's awesome.
I don't even remember when Pi Day is. I'm a retired teacher, retired special education teacher, and some things are beginning to fade, but I do know this is one of my favorite teaching shirts. So hello, I am a Andean shamanic practitioner, which means that I studied shamanism with the lineage of the Quero, which involves the Inca and these beautiful indigenous people high up in the Andes, near Cusco, Peru. And I also am a spiritualist medium. I've been trained. I really have blended the mediumship, but my training is as a spiritualist medium, trained by spiritualists like people found at Lilydale or lots that believe in evidential mediumship. I really blend it all together. I like to do soul readings and work with traumas, do healing around traumas, basically anything that spirit says that you need. And we'll get into tonight about when we say the word spirit, what we mean by that. So that'll be a really cool thing. Also, I am a lesbian, and I bring that up because we have a beautiful queer spiritual group on Thursday nights that Sam, Mark, and I do. And it has become part of the practice to do healing around people's wounds around their own religion and spirituality. And in this case, for those who are queer.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Annette Green, tell us about yourself.
Well, I actually call myself, I'm trying to figure out what to define myself as. And I really think that the thing that fits best is a spiritual explorer, because I love exploring all things spiritual. And so that really resonates with me. Call myself a spiritual intuitive, but I like explorer a lot better.
Love that.
And I do different spiritual modalities. I do Tibetan cranial, which is a healing art form that is really about moving the cranial fluid through the body by manipulating. I don't even want to say manipulating, putting light pressure on different points of the neck and the skull to help the fluid flow better. That also creates a lot of healing for people, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You never know what's going to happen. But nobody has the same experience twice, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I also teach Kundalini yoga and trauma-informed yoga. I'm a writer and a poet.
Oh, beautiful. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. And then, dear Melanie Rose, you're muted. There you go.
Hi
There you go.
there.
Okay.
Yep, I got it. My name is Melanie Rose. I'm a psychic medium. I don't love those words, but that's what most people understand. I also do a little animal communication, healing. I'm intuitive, hypersensitive, all those fun things.
Ah, awesome. Awesome. Great. And in our background, we have our two tech gurus who keep us organized and are like, they are just amazing. Sky Stallman and Rachel Russell. So thank you guys for being here. My name is Lauri Albert, and I call myself a spiritual luminary because I too do all sorts of different things. And very interestingly, just these past few weeks, I've been kind of stepping back from planning and doing and all that stuff. And I started to realize that because I'm an author, I wrote a book on manifestation. And very interestingly, I couldn't figure out how to sort of marry being a medium, because I'm a spiritual medium, and being so into manifestation. I couldn't marry the two until just recently. And so that's basically what I'm doing. Much like you, Derek, I like to empower myself and other people to be their best selves and live in that high vibration. So that's really cool. So anyway, so welcome to everybody who's joining. Tonight's topic, and this is a really broad topic, I get it, but we're going to see where spirit takes this conversation. And we welcome your questions. We welcome any comments that you have. Wherever you're watching this, comment or let us know. So comment on it if you choose, if you have a question. So let us know. Our topic tonight is, what is spirituality? And what's interesting about that is that I think that if you asked 100 people, you'd probably get 100 different answers, because it's different for everybody. Don't you guys think that? It's like, it's totally different for every single person.
I would like to add to this as we go into this conversation. I think this is one of those things that if we can just ask everybody to have an open heart, and to understand that we all, that one of us may say it in a way that, you or one of us others may be going, ooh, I disagree with that. And that is okay, because this has to do with our relationship that we have with spirituality.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, because I know in the past there have been times where I have talked about this in my story, and I have, gotten people say, well, that just, and things, said about that. And I think it's just important for us to respect and honor that we all have our individual relationships with the divine, with God, with spirit, by all the names that we, whatever it is, however we view that.
And that's what I love about spirituality. Honestly, I feel like that the term spirituality is a little bit more broad than when you pigeonhole yourself into something else, So somebody else can talk. I've been talking for a while now. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I'm really. Go ahead,
Melanie.
Go ahead. I'm really excited about the talk because spirituality just encompasses so many different things. People. Like Lauri was saying, if you talk to people and ask them, everyone has a completely different view of what that is. You know what I mean? And it's I think it has a lot to do with what you connect with, things that comfort you,
right,
and that make you feel grounded and good. And that could be God, that could be spirit, that could be anything really. But I love the whole idea of this little chat, because I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say.
Absolutely. It's such an individual path for everybody, because we're all on different levels. We're all on different things, and spirituality has to be an individual thing. I like to say, but being open enough and not being so close-minded, like you said, Lauri, being pigeon-toed into one perspective, because in one perspective of maybe like your parents put you in, or your friends or school put you in, you really have to analyze it and say, is this practice, is this whatever you're in right for you? And it has to feel right. You can't just say, yeah, I'm in whatever group because that's what the town is in. I have to be part of the town. It has to really resonate with you, because if it don't, you'll feel it and you'll know it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing to really encompass it in one person, in one way, and a whole another thing to be like I'm bringing up religion, but just a person that goes to church on the weekends just because they think that's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It really has to resonate with you, and there's so many different levels, like Lauri from shamanism, which I practice too, and all different levels. It's such a beautiful individual journey that it has to be that.
Yeah.
I want to say, when I was a kid, I love the Waltons, and I probably
I love that show.
Right? I mean, I connected with John Boy on such a level. I really did. Me and John Boy, we had the thing going. But the person I really connected to as far as spirituality, one of the first people, believe it or not, was John Walton. And because he went up, his relationship with God was found up on the mountain. He didn't go to church. And that was, for me, a big one, because church was not a comfortable place for me, because my mom had me out of wedlock and married at 17, and in the church that she had grown up in, that wasn't okay, and there was a lot of stuff, and so and my stepfather, when I was a girl, I must have been like 12 or 13, I asked him a question about God. I'm a country girl, so we were out hunting, and he said, well, this is God. And he said, if you want to connect with God, this is where God is. God is right here.
Mm-hmm.
God is in the trees and in the land. And probably one of the best things he ever said to me. And it was there I began to create my relationship in a place that I felt comfortable, and that and I always understood that there was something bigger than me. I always got that and I needed that, because I actually grew up in a pretty traumatic environment, and so for me, knowing that there was someone, divine, that cared about me and that I could communicate with directly was very huge in my life. And later on, of course, I would develop it into what it is today. But it was that deep connection with God on my terms. I think if I were to really talk about, for me, what is spirituality at its core.
I would totally agree with that. I think that with a lot of people, obviously it begins in childhood, and if you're brought to church, if you're brought up in a certain religion, if you're brought up a certain way, that's where we all start. And then if you're lucky enough to have a little bit of space, you can find what you need out of it, and kind of decide which direction you want to go, what you want to keep and what you want to let go of. I think that's great. I had the same thing. I had a Catholic upbringing, but when you're a kid that hears things and sees things, and and then you're listening to all of these priests and everything say things, it can be like, I think in a lot of ways it locked me down, and I just didn't talk about anything right through until my adulthood, honestly, with my psychic stuff, I mean. But and I do believe Jesus was a man, but I don't believe in half of the things that are said about him. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So for me, I just started pulling away as a teenager, actually as a child, because I was like, that's not right. I just intuitively knew, or I felt it wasn't right. Yeah. Like other people, great. I absolutely respect that. But for me, I pulled back. And then as an adult, I fully stepped back because it was just not in alignment with my spirit or my soul. So,
You know what's really interesting about that?
I grew up.
Oh, go ahead, Annette. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I grew up very traditional in terms of religion as well. And when I was very young, it was all about learning the Bible verses, because every Bible verse that I learned and could recite in Sunday school on Sunday, I got points. And then those points added up, and then I could go to camp in the summertime if I had enough points. So I was very focused on a goal.
it's a good drive.
But when I was about 13, I ended up going to a different kind of church. I grew up Methodist, African Methodist Episcopal, and I had a cousin who was Pentecostal, which I didn't know anything about. And so I went to church with her at one point and had a spiritual experience that I still carry with me today. And so I practiced that religion for a long time until it felt to me like I grew out of the limited belief structure. And I knew that there was more for me to learn outside of that environment. So I left out of that and wasn't really sure where I was going. But I told the pastor of the church that I was attending, he said he was concerned about my soul. And I said, with a level of conviction that I was even shocked with, because I was like 17, I think, and this elder person who I really had a whole lot of respect for, I looked him straight in the eye and I said, I don't know where I'm going from here, but one thing I know for sure is that God didn't bring me this far to leave me. And this fire rose up in me, like from my belly. This powerful fire of empowerment, really. Like it just fleshed me. And at that point, I just knew, I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm on the right path. And so that led me into a less, I don't know what you want to call it, dogmatic spiritual Christianity in unity. And then I kind of outgrew that. Religious science, I kind of outgrew that. Just in terms of my own journey, I ended up learning Native American spirituality that I spent a lot of time in and was so moved by and so totally engulfed in for many, many years. And then that just kind of also led me into understanding that spirituality is individual to each person. Like you can't wrap it in a package and say this is what it is, because we're all so different, like we talked about. And I think about our DNA, like we're all absolutely unique in our DNA. So we're absolutely unique. So why can't our uniqueness, be experienced fully? And so when I really felt like I'm doing this thing and I don't know where it's taking me, but I'm loving every bit of it, I just kept going and I've never stopped. So
I love your journey, though. I think that's key, the way you describe that. I mean, having the fearlessness to explore, because so many people get stuck in that because they're scared, the whole family or the whole friends are in one thing and they're, I have to upheave my entire life, and is it right, is it wrong? But that fearlessness to explore and follow wherever spirit is taking you, that is absolutely beautiful. And if there's one thing that people get out of this, is that fearlessness right there, the fearlessness to explore and do what's right for you, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I know,
That's
and that
beautiful.
we could feel your fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, preach it this out. That's right.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this before, but when I worked in HIV/AIDS in Yonkers, New York, I was for the first time, I lost a lot of clients, and so I went to a lot of funerals, and I went to a Catholic, I guess it's a mass, and I was so confused. My wife was raised Catholic, and I came home. I says, I don't understand. This minister, this what they call priest, spent the whole time talking about purgatory and praying this guy on purgatory. And I was so upset because my client never even wanted it. His mom forced that mass, and it was so awful. It was just awful. It was nothing about him and how at the end of his life he had come so far and really made amends and done so much with his life, and with the people around him. And I think I even walked out early because I had such a bad feeling about it. And I came home to my wife. I was like, I don't know what just happened. But then, in the same week, I had to go to another funeral. Sometimes I was going to 3, 4, 5 funerals a week.
Oh, jeez.
And I went to a Pentecostal, church to go to a funeral. And oh my gosh, I mean, it was, my heart was singing. My heart was so full, and I cared deeply about each person I worked with. And so I would always, feel it when I would go to these things. And I was astounded. Here you've got supposedly 2 churches are supposed to be connected to God, but the Pentecostal church, this was the people. It was a celebration of life. It had to do with all that and really feeling Spirit come in. And I sat there and I thought, wow, and it was just, it took me, and I really. I'm not the type to get up and move too much. Well, I am now, but back then I wasn't, but it did move me, and I left, I was in my 20s, and it really impacted me in the way I saw it. And I thought, that's what you want. That's the relationship I want, with Spirit, is a relationship that I feel that tremendous connection. And it sort of set my path in a sense of, because I went, like I said, to a lot of funerals, and every time I would go to, to a Black church, I would find it a completely in their connection with understanding when people cross over and death and everything. And that will lead us into, talking about mediumship in a sense, and understanding that life doesn't end just because you die, and that there is this thing, and it profoundly impacted me for the rest of my life.
Well, one thing I want to say though is that I completely respect that particular experience, but not all Catholic churches are like that.
Yes,
Now, I was raised Catholic, big time Catholic, and I didn't care for the church that I went to, but then I went to another Catholic church, and I was like, they were involved. It was kind of hands-on, and I was like, why couldn't my church where I grew up, why couldn't it be more like that? I would have really engaged with it more had I been to that. So, but I guess that's true. I'm sitting here saying that about Catholicism, but that would be true about any church.
Yeah,
If you really say that,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Years ago, because my mom chose not to have her children baptized. She decided if her children wanted to be baptized, they would get baptized in their own right. But when my grandmother would take me to it was Protestant church, take me to church, which she liked to do when I was a kid. And the wafers, passed around for you to do whatever. What's it called? Communion. What are Protestants called again? Is it communion?
Communion.
Yeah. And it would be like, she'd say, oh no, you can't do this, and it would move right past me, right? It was weird. You mean I can't have a cookie? Why can't I have it? Type of thing. Right there, right? What am I being told?
Yeah.
And then my grandma.
Weird.
Yeah. And my grandma would tell me.
Never liked that.
Yeah, it's so I felt like an absolute outsider. And for me, I got to a point, that I always, plus I was raised around a lot of Native Americans, off reservation, but a lot of Native Americans, and their story. I became the story of the schools, of the religious, them being taken away from their homes,
Yeah.
and being put in the boarding schools,
Yeah.
and what religion had done was very much something I heard a great deal about as a child. And so all those things kept me out of church for sure.
Yeah.
And so here I am going into churches, and I really got a feeling. You're right. Some
Yeah.
churches are absolutely connected,
Yeah.
and then and that's an important point.
Yeah.
That there are some people in religion who are extremely spiritual and who are deeply connected, and I want to acknowledge that because I have met some of them, and they're quite amazing.
Isn't that interesting? I find that to be so fascinating because as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, we are all a product. Sorry, I'm forming my thought process as I'm saying this, but we are all a product of all of our experiences, And so we had to get individually, it's like in my head, we all had to get to a certain place, this place right here, right now. But if we hadn't had all of the good and bad experiences throughout our lives regarding religion and whatever, we wouldn't be here right now, Yeah, and it's so interesting when I was, like I just said, I was raised very Catholic, and when I was 17, I graduated high school and I was a singer, I was a performer, and I somehow, and this is spirit at work, man. I could have been headed down a really wrong road, right? But I auditioned and I was accepted into this group where they performed for all over the country for not Vietnam, what am I saying? Veterans, just all veterans, not Vietnam veterans, but all veterans. The veteran facilities, the veterans hospitals, right? And in order to do that, what we would do is we would perform. It was a Christian organization, but we would perform at different churches every weekend. We would do 2 shows every single Sunday, one in the morning, one at night. And I saw the entire gambit of spirituality in terms of religion, like the Methodists, just, you got to be careful what you say and all this stuff, down to the Pentecostal flying up and everybody just dancing around the whole time. I mean, it was extraordinary seeing all those different things. And I think to myself, I was remembering that, Lauri, when you were talking, because it was like, I remember thinking, holy, like I was young, obviously, really young. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, it can be like this. Wow, if I had only known, but then I won't get into the whole story, but my mother, once I came out, I guess I should say, as a medium, my mother kind of had a little bit of a problem with that. She was very Catholic, and bless her heart, she loved our church. She was very personal, like very introverted. Well, she wasn't introverted. She was like, I take after her. Let me just put it that way, right? But she was very to herself about her religion. And I thought, you know what? That's fine. You go to the church that I grew up in, because they were very like, you were on your own kind of thing, And I just find it so freaking fascinating, But a pivotal thing for me was later on in the years of performing and stuff in the churches and everything. I became a born again Christian, right? Wanting to fit in. I will add that, right? Wanted to fit in with everybody else, right? So, and we got into this discussion about, and again, this is my experience. So anybody that's listening, you are welcome to have your own opinion. I do not begrudge anybody of their own opinions, okay, at all. But this is my story, right? We got into this big discussion about we couldn't listen. Oh God, they frowned upon listening to like rock music. Well, I'm a music head. I mean, that's just it. I listen to everything. I mean, everything, right? But Led Zeppelin at the time was kind of a big thing. They were like, right? They were like, ooh, kind of thing. And I remember getting into it, but if it brings, I'm not talking about Led Zeppelin in terms of this, but like if a certain kind of music brings me joy, even if it's rock, why can't I listen to it? Why can't I watch Bewitched? I was fascinated with all of those shows, Bewitched, and all of those
Isn't that
witchy
so
shows.
funny?
Right.
That's so funny.
I know, right? You had the same experience, didn't you, Melanie? Our lives are so parallel.
I know, it's weird. It's just so funny the things that they would say that you shouldn't or couldn't do, and I often think like our spirituality, like your ideal or the goal would be to go and find what does not stifle you.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be stifled to know the difference, and to know you have to go through that fight, and you have to go through like, I don't think that's right. I don't like that. Why are they being so inclusive on their own?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what Lauri said about not being able to take communion, that made a lot of sense to me, because when I was little, I'd be like, but they say like to share, and they say to give to everyone and take care of people who are poor. We were the poor family. We didn't have anything. We got the free milk and all that stuff. And it was just such a contradiction constantly. That as a child, for me, it was an absolute contradiction. And like, I am a person, always have been, even as a child. I can't ignore the elephant in the room. Yeah. I'm always like, you guys see that? You guys are seeing that, right? Why aren't you guys seeing anything? You know what I mean? Like, I'm horrible, and I still am. I'm like, let's just say it. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, it was just never. It was always a contradiction, and it drove me crazy, and I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
It's just.
Sorry. I tried to read the Bible a couple times, and I don't know if it was the Old Testament or New Testament, and I know there's beautiful things in that book. That there really is. I've read, I've taken a couple things, and I've really gotten a lot out of it. But like when it says slaves be good to their masters, when it says, you're trying to worship a God of unconditional love, but then you want to judge that says, well, but you can't be like this, or you can't be like this, or you have to be this way. Like you say, it's a complete contradiction. It's like, that was not written by God. That was written by men in power. And
women have to serve their man. Serve their man. But then there's somewhere in there where they're equal, but then men are supposed to take care of the women. And it was like, and I grew up without a dad. My dad died when I was a baby. So I was like, where do I fit in here? Where does my mom fit in here?
Yeah.
Like, my mom is my dad. And it was just, I never had a man in my life like that. So I was just like, I don't know, so confusing.
Yeah.
No,
I bet.
I did read the Bible. Actually, I was about 19 or 20 years old, somewhere in there, all the way through. And, I had, we were extremely poor. We lived in something called a Quonset hut, a 3-room shack. Basically, there was 4 kids, my mom and my stepdad, and he was a raging alcoholic and often didn't work and all those things. And so I had a pretty tough life, and I helped to take care of my younger brothers and sisters. Well, I got to Job, and he's one with all the trials, right? Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
That's one. And I connected so much to Job. And the thing that, and this is okay, because what I got out of this was that Job kept believing in God, and that Job never stopped. And so all the stories in the Bible, the one that made the most sense to me was that one. Because when I was 2 years old, my right lung collapsed. And my mom tells a story on how they told her I was going to die. And actually, I would find out later, I actually did die and came back. And my mom said that I kept talking to these beings who were there, and then she took it, she fell asleep after they said I was going to die. And she sort of just was so fatigued. And she said that Jesus came to her and told her that I was going to live and she could wake up now. And so my mom's take on that, so the weave that went into the story was Jesus saved you for a reason. Jesus saved you, you're going to do something. Yeah, so it's important to look at our stories because we're not the only one that's weaving our story. Everybody is putting stuff into our story. And so when I read Job, I was like, okay, well, God, you better show me soon because it's about my last time here. And soon after that, I actually I never thought about suicide. Never. And it was weird because right around that time, it like came into my head and I like was shocked. I was set up and I go, I can't even believe I just thought that. And then just like, boom, it was gone. But it's okay because it was like, so there was something in me. There was something in me. And for that, I'm grateful. Because it was like there was something that was, and that's how I knew and believed in my own relationship with, at that time, as I called God, with God, because I knew it was real. And I knew it was profoundly real for me, even though I was struggling on so many fronts, and that's the spiritual connection, right? It was like my relationship with God was just is real.
Gorgeous.
And that's the key, spirituality, no matter what path it is for you, it's about freedom. It's about empowerment. Yeah. And it's okay to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You don't have to buy in completely to one thing.
Yeah.
We are creators. We are part of God. God is the infinite creator. We are creators also. And we're meant to create something true and beautiful that is right for us. And if it's a little bit of Hindu, if it's a little bit of Christianity, if it's a little bit of Buddhism, if it's a little bit of shamanism, and blend it into whatever is great for you and yours, then fantastic. Yeah. That's amazing. You are supportive. As long as it feels right in there and you're smiling and making other people smiling, that's all that matters. And that's a big thing that people need to understand is take what resonates with you, because there's beautiful things in every religion, every spiritual text, and every kind of teacher, and then there's stuff that's not going to resonate with you. So take the good, leave the rest.
Yeah.
And I would like to think, I know this isn't true for everybody, but I would like to think that as you do that you do it with respect for others. Yeah. And that, respect for actually everything. Because to me, that's the key. That if we want to be able, have our path, the freedom to have our spiritual path, then we have to allow others to have, as long as we respect each other's in it, right? It's like, it's not that when we start to get like, like Derek just said, everybody's got to do their own thing. But when we start to think our path is the path or is better than the other path, you can do that. But it's hard. I want to.
I'm sorry, I just remembered a story.
Yeah, then go for it, because I'm about to get myself into tricky.
No, you're doing great.
You're doing great, Lauri. Hey, we are unfiltered, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Because in my mind, because as someone, I didn't realize I was gay until I was 22. But I should have known my whole life. Look, I'm getting red again. Here it goes again. And it was one of those things, and suddenly, like, then I was told I couldn't even do, like religion because I was gay, right? And all that stuff. But it's the idea of like the wounds that are caused when we want to tell people I'm right, you're wrong, or you're evil, or my religion is better than your religion. Even like
it's not necessary.
Yeah. And we have to be careful with enlightenment. We have to be cautious with the language around enlightenment. Yeah. Because even that, I'm lighter than you. No, actually, I'm a little chunky, and so.
I love that. I'm sorry, but I was laughing because I remember one time you guys, obviously I'm on this show with you all, so you know that I'm pretty outspoken and I'll just talk, right? So I was at my office, this is many years ago, and I was working in this little tiny closet, kind of organizing some things, and this lady comes into me. She was younger than me, and she comes into the closet with me. We're both in this little tiny room, and she starts evangelizing to me and about what I do, because I was a medium, how that's wrong and I need to come back to Christianity. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Right? And I'm like, we're literally in the closet. And I'm just like, excuse me, I need to step out of the closet again. God, it's just, but and it's funny because when you said, Lauri, when you start to think that you are right, that's when the trouble starts. And that's what honestly sent me away from Christianity. And my mother's on the other side now, and so she understands this now. But I just couldn't take the, like God or Jesus was all about what is it? The Beatitudes. Oh my God. I can't remember the Beatitudes where it's like, feed the people that need fed, clothe the people that need clothes, all of that stuff. But we don't do that. I mean, we don't, it's not, it's just, we don't do that. And then there are reasons why we don't do that. And well, it's political. Well, who cares? I don't care, kind of thing, and that sort of thing. And I had to step away from it at that point because it just got to be too much. But now I've learned, and I think some of this is age, and you guys tell me if this makes sense to you too. Like some of it has come with age. My sort of voice of, you know what? If you're saying something and I disagree with it, I can walk away. I don't have to people please like I used to. Are you guys the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think like a part, in my opinion, I think a part of spirituality and that growth and the growth of spirituality age, like when you rise, is when you start thinking that you're right. You start thinking, we all do. It's okay.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking in that direction, you stop yourself and you correct. And you're like, you know what? That's okay. If someone else has a different opinion, like that's okay. And it doesn't harm me. You know what I mean? Like they can do whatever is right for them. It doesn't harm me.
Yeah.
I think when you get to a point
so true.
where you actually can manage your your you know what I mean? Like the crazy.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of people that grew up like that where it has to be like this. And when you get to a point where you can find that growth and like rise and understand that it's not about you, that everyone gets their own choices. I think that is, in my opinion, when you become more spiritual, when you become, you rise to a higher level, in my opinion, because like when we just let everyone be, let people alone, like stop it.
Yeah.
It just makes me crazy.
Yeah. You're allowed to think whatever. Imagine if you were told when you were young that you could think however you chose. Imagine.
Can you imagine?
Like if we were told we could say and we can believe whatever we choose to believe. We don't have to. Can you imagine?
Right. Or discuss. Like have a discussion about your beliefs. When I hear about other people's beliefs, I'm like, a lot of times it opens something in me where I'm like, oh my God, that actually makes a lot of sense. It doesn't have to be one religion. It doesn't have to, like Derek was saying, it doesn't have to be like alignment with one thing. Like there are so many things that make so much sense to me, and it's from every religion and even if it's not from a religion, it's just, like spiritualism like blew my mind, and I was like, oh, that's like the closest to a religion I'll get is spiritualism. But otherwise I don't do group religion. I don't, because I don't want somebody telling me how to think. I don't want someone telling me how things went. You know what I mean? Like I respect the history of religious beliefs. I respect all of those things, but when it comes down to me, I'm like, shut up.
But here's my question though.
I'm a whole person and I'm a grown ass woman. Like
yeah.
I get to have my own thoughts and I get to love who I love and I get to hang around who I want to hang around with and I'll talk to who I want to and you know, rejoice how I want and pray how I want, you know.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. You guys, I want to know like what everybody thinks about this. Have you ever had like right now, I am so turned off and I'm just being real. I'm being Lauri here. I'm really turned off by Christianity. I'm really turned off by Christianity. I'm turned off by like I have a problem with it because I had so many experiences. So like Derek, do you have a situation that like that there's a wall up? Like, do you guys have walls based on your
I mean,
experiences?
and I think, like Annette was talking about the Native American feeling, and I resonate with a lot of Native American and shamanism and ancient cultures. And when you look back at the root of Christianity and Catholicism, they murdered millions of people in the name of a loving God. That's not what a loving God does. And a lot of their beliefs and rituals are pagan rituals who they were killing because they was wrong. So that's a contradiction. And you don't go into a culture, murder them, and say, believe this, or we're going to kill you. I mean, I know some people. I know a lot of beautiful, loving Christian people, a lot of beautiful, loving Catholic people.
Absolutely.
But as a whole, anything that is controlling, that's not love. Love does not control. True love, true aloha, true freedom is not controlling in any way, shape, or form. When it says unconditional love, it means unconditional love.
Yeah.
That's And if it's not that, it just doesn't resonate.
I find one of the biggest things with Christianity is the base of what happens with a lot of people is it's about fear.
Yeah.
Fear that they're going to not do the right thing, or
100%.
fear that they did the wrong thing, or fear that they have to do it this way because it's been like programmed into, which I never really could understand. If you don't do it right, you're not going to make it to heaven. And that thing used to bug me because I'm like, well, how do I know if I'm doing it right? Like, what is right,
Yeah.
And but I had a neighbor that one time we were talking, and I was just sharing my own personal spiritual views with her, and she's like, but you don't believe you need to be saved. You don't need to believe. You don't believe that that you could go to hell. And I said, no, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
You don't believe in hell? Did that freak her out?
Yeah, I would go to hell because of the way that I saw, life in general, and that I was not professing Christianity. She really was afraid for me.
Yeah.
I really got that she was genuinely afraid for me, and I was just, no, I'm not afraid, and I don't buy into that belief system. I did at one time. I tried it out, and it just, my own soul took me somewhere different from that.
But now, did it leave like a bad taste in your mouth? Like whenever somebody starts talking and then you become aware that they're Christian, do you kind of go like, oh, what's going to happen now? Like, do you have like a wall built up? Do you have like a reaction? I'm just asking if you guys do.
Yeah, I don't really have a wall.
Okay.
I would say I don't really have a wall because, there's this concept of allowing people who don't allow you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I'm to that place where I can allow people, whether they allow me or not. Like I'm not gonna change because of what they think about me. I might change, and I might change to something that they would agree with, but it's gonna be because that's where I feel led to go, not because I'm afraid or because you think a certain way. So, but being willing to allow people to not allow me, that gave me so much freedom because then I didn't have to try to change their mind about anything. It's like, hey, I'm okay with you. Whatever you think, whatever you believe, whatever you think or believe about me, I'm really okay with that.
And doesn't that take the pressure off? I love that. Love that.
Now, I have to say that what's happening right now in the world, like in places like Florida and the attack on, on trans and gay people, and of course lots of others too. But, so I'm going to backtrack for a moment because I used to have a hard time going into churches because immediately I would feel total angst and want to run out of church, right? And the
So, like, what kind of stress must that be?
yeah,
For
and
a
so
kid
but my
who doesn't
teacher,
know.
that's true, but this is what she said to me. She said, you know, a lot of people have prayed in here. You may not like what this church represents, but there is a lot of power of prayers, good prayers sent to God. That there is that. It is a house of worship, you know. So it's the idea. When I began to really connect with that, and the time I really felt it is, you know, a family member had passed away, and I did, Lauri, by the way, go into a Catholic church, and for the first time, like 5 years ago, a priest did blessings for everybody. You were allowed to go up and at least receive a blessing. I had never experienced that before, and I thought, wow, this is inclusive. He has created inclusivity, and it was beautiful. And I was like, you know, I feel okay in here. And the energy was good. You could feel that. You're like, this is like, has a beautiful energy in it. And that is where it began to click. Now, on another front, with what's happening, a lot of old, and this is why one of the big reasons I wanted to start this group on Thursday nights for queers, because not only do we have things we've never healed from around religion, now we're being re-triggered.
Yeah, right.
With what is being said, done. And we're being re-triggered in old fears we thought we didn't have to think about anymore, or maybe not as much, at least it wasn't so high on the surface, have suddenly come at us again. And so, but I'm trying not to really stay in that place of fear. For me, really trying not to do that, because for me, that is like the growth is that it's you know, allowing that divine presence to remain open and to not close it, even when things are occurring that feel like personal attacks, or personal attacks on those I love, or on the, I love everybody, so I just can't stand it, but I can't go there.
Yeah.
Lower your vibration. It does no good.
Yeah, but it happens. We're human, and so we're definitely gonna have the moments where you know that's when we get in trouble. Is when we pretend like we can stay up here all the time. That's when we get in trouble, right?
Possible.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're meant to experience all of this. We're meant to experience the highs, the lows. We're meant to get pissed off, you know, and realize that that's okay. That's part of the growth process. That's part of the experience. But be conscious enough to realize that, you know.
You know, it's interesting. I've been saying to myself lately, I'm so lucky. I am so lucky. You know, like my husband is not into the spiritual stuff at all, right? Not even a little bit, right? And, you know, this is like what I do, right? So you'd think there'd be, but I mean, he's interested in my business and all of that stuff, but he's just not interested in this at all. And he keeps me grounded. You know, I am so lucky because I'll come out of like a session and I'll be like flying high. I'll be like crown chakra crazy and totally open. And he'll be like, so what are we having for dinner? And I'll be like, whoo. He's like, because, you know, but in a good way. It's a good way, you know, it's a good thing. It makes me feel like, it makes me remember that I'm human, even though we have those spiritual experiences, we are human. And I love that. I love that, you know, so much fun. Okay. So I want to know what everybody's thought is on oh, you guys are going to love this. The difference between, and we sort of touched on this, religion and spirituality. Now we've sort of touched on that, but do you think there's more similarities to the two? And it's just that the word spirituality means something completely different than the word religion. Do you guys know what I'm saying?
I'm cracking up because, and I know this is like not connected at all, but this is what comes in my head. You know, so I'll never forget one year I had, and it was great. So one of my Latino and Hispanic, those two words, right? Yeah. And one of my, and sometimes you use interchangeably, but they're not. They actually have two different meanings. And so one of my students who was from Colombia explained that to the rest of the class, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, I never thought about that. You know, and it was such an understanding of it. And I think sometimes it happens with religion and spirituality.
Yeah.
Is that there is a difference. There are also similarities, and there are things that hold them together, and there are differences. And that is sometimes where you can be religious and have spirituality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, or at least in my book, you can, right? And so, you know, but that's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you
I
going to say?
wish there was, like, with religions, like all of the little religions, all in their little boxes, you know, all separate. All the little, if we could just open up all those boxes and just kind of connect them and just be like, look, now you can just believe what you want, you know what I mean? And like take from others and leave what doesn't work. And I think it's, I think religion to me feels like being in a box, you know, while I will say that, in my opinion, some of the best mediums have had the most trauma. Because spirit works with that.
Yeah.
Like we need trauma. You go through your life perfectly happy and you don't have any trauma. Like,
well, it's kind of like songwriting.
It's not as much to learn. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's we're spirit beings experiencing this human life. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ram Dass says that as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like if we are out of the box of religion, you know, that
but you know what, I keep thinking back to, and I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch of the means, but I keep thinking back to my mother, and I'm sorry I keep bringing you into this. I'm really sorry. I just feel like she wanted that individuality. Like, I mean, she just wanted to be left alone with her spirituality. So her spirituality was, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Actually, too, and thinking about it, my grandmother too. You know, she went to church, went to mass every morning, and that was her way of being spiritual.
Yes.
Well, and Lauri S., I think you touched on it too about, like, you know, churches being open and that more inclusive in this new age movement where people are. I mean, they want to be empowered. They want to be the freedom to explore. A lot of churches are becoming that more, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. They are kind of opening their eyes a little bit because they're realizing that this whole thing is about unconditional love. This whole thing is about oneness. And if we're worshiping a God that is light and love, we can't exclude this person who's a different color or different race or because they're gay or because of this or because of that. That is what freedom is. That is what empowerment is. That is what love is. And we're seeing that more and more all over the world. I mean, no matter what you read in the news or that or whatever, I mean, I drive all over for my job, and I see a heck of a lot more beautiful, loving, kind people than I do angry people. I just do. Yep. And that is a beautiful thing to me. So I know we've kind of been bashing religion a little bit, but the older, like, religion of our grandparents and that was a different time, man.
Yeah.
We're evolving. Humankind is evolving. We're opening up. I mean, we can't help open up. I mean, look how many mediums are in the world now. Look at how many sites there are now for spirituality and that. The internet has just exploded the whole spiritual movement. I mean, I do readings, and about 90% of these people that I'm reading either do energy work, they're into shamanism, even if it's their first time having a reading done, you know, I do energy work, I do this, I do that. It's like, yes, of course. I mean, everybody's had some kind of spiritual experience, whether they followed that or not, or whether they were supported in it or not. I mean, we are spiritual beings having this human experience. So the fact that it's just opening up is just absolutely beautiful to me.
So let me share with you a mind blower that has been for me in mediumship. What mediumship has done for me in regards to this. If I ever had any walls, Lauri, they were blown apart long ago, and I'll even tell you how. So I'm reading, and it amazes me. So I'll be sitting with someone, and suddenly I get their grandmother, and grandma comes in, and she'll show me. And a lot of times I don't know this information because, remember, I was raised outside of religion, and So I will get this woman with a veil on, and I'll see her lighting a candle, and I'll pick up the fact that, you know, this is a Catholic, and but there's things I don't know that are coming into me.
Mm-hmm.
And what she shows me in the lighting, this happened to me, it was a couple months ago, when she's lighting the candle, it's her worry. It's her worry for her grandson who was sitting with me. And so she's talking to me. She's showing me herself in the church and praying and doing this. And so I bring this information in, and the guy's like, yeah, that's my grandmother. She went to church every single day. She lit the candles for everybody. And she, I forget the message, but it was through that very religious context that the message came in.
Yeah.
And the grandson got it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was there, and it happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
It happens to me across, you know, several different religions where I've brought amazing, you know, a Kabbalah master showed up and showed me things that totally blew my mind. And it's like, you know, and I will get quotes from the Bible, and then afterwards I have to go to my wife and say, do you know this one? And, you know, because I'll write them down my little head. She's, oh, yeah, that's da da da. And I go, oh, my God. And because that just came in. And these things come into me that there's no way I could possibly know them. But sometimes if the person's not new to me, I'll go, then you know this isn't me. And boom, here it comes. I have picked up profound messages that have religion, you know, context in them. And that shows me. That's why I don't have any walls, I think, where I'm able to release that, because they need me, you know, and the loved ones who crossed over, the spirit beings need me to be open. They need me not to have walls because they count on that with me. You know, my openness and working on my own judgments and my own fears and trying to open up through them creates me as more of an open receptacle, you know, a conduit for them to come through.
So true.
So I was about maybe about a month ago now. I didn't plan this, but I all of a sudden I was watching a Jewish religious what do you call it, church ceremony, and it was the most beautiful thing. I don't know what they were saying, but the music was just moving. It was so, whatever they were singing, I don't know what the words were, but I was moved by it. And then I wasn't looking for it. It just showed up on YouTube, and then there was another one, and then I'm like, let me watch this one, and let me watch this one, and I did it like for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours.
Oh my God.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's amazing, though. That's what it's about.
And I was I had such a spiritual experience, and I don't know a single word they said. I don't know, but it was beautiful.
You don't have to.
It was
Yeah.
really
That's
beautiful.
the great part.
It's the vibration.
Yeah, exactly. You know, my wife, who is, she calls herself a recovering Catholic, says one of her, you know, she loves like, you know, when a lot of funerals do the Eagle Wings song,
Oh.
you know, rise you up, right?
Yeah.
She loves that. She absolutely loves it. And Ave Maria, I think, is another one. And so, you know, she says, you know, I still am drawn to it. She says, you know, I might not be a practicing Catholic anymore, but it's like, it's fascinating because it's music, and music connects to the soul and connects to spirit in a different way. And that, you know, and that's it too, is mediums. You guys ever get songs? And like
all the time.
Like I started to sing Jesus Loves Me to someone once because her mother came in and told me to do it. I just do it.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. You know, that's how they work, though. You know, that's how spirit works. They bring in what you need, you know. But what I think the key to the entire thing is to understand, and I know you know this, Lauri, so I'm not saying that you don't, but when we understand that it's spirit coming in, we are the true medium. It comes in and comes out, you know, and that's what I tell my students. You know, we don't want to get to the place where we are the be all end all. We are the medium, you know, kind of thing. You know, because when you get there, I've seen this happen to people. Spirit will start taking that away. Start taking away the gift. So, Derek, there's a question for you. Did you see the question? It says, I'm curious, Derek, when you look up, what do you see here, experience? I see you doing that often. Is that you connecting with spirit?
Yeah, it's one of the ways I do. I try to just, look up, go quiet, look around, and it's a way for me to get out of my own thoughts and just to really connect with spirit. I always say I want to be that clear and pure channel for spirit. I want it to be authentic. So I mean, getting out of my own head, my own thoughts. That's just the way that I do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love that. I wanted to say or ask you guys a question. So Derek, you use this term a couple of times, and I'm not calling you out. That's not what it's about. But you use the word, I know, right? But the word unconditional love, I love that term so much, but it always, every time I hear somebody I shouldn't say every time, but you just reminded me of a story. I had a friend who told me one time, oh, this makes me so emotional. She said one time that she has never experienced unconditional love. And I will never forget. This was many years ago, and I will never forget that horrible feeling I had for her. Can you imagine thinking that you've never experienced it? And she goes on to say that she's like, love is conditional. And I said, no, it's not. I said, maybe with some people it might be, but not when you're like opening yourself up to spirit. You know, we got into that whole discussion. But can you guys, like, wow, have you guys ever heard anybody talk about that?
I can see that, Lauri, because, think about us as kids, or at least, there were conditions. There were conditions. Think about it. There, even if you don't think about conditional love, but, I remember myself being petrified. My mom, when I came out, the reason I took so long to come out to my mom was because I was afraid she wouldn't love me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a condition.
Yeah.
And then afterwards she got mad at me and says, just not the case. I would never not love my child.
Yeah.
And,
but there's those little tinges of like, well, wait a minute, there's that doubt and that fear.
And so as kids, think about it. We do it all, so I think we can think there are no strings to love.
Yeah.
But, when it's the underlying words and the underlying actions that then there actually are. You tell me there aren't, but there are.
Yeah, and then you think of the
when there aren't conditions, there's sometimes perceived conditions.
Yes,
that's true too. Yeah,
even when they're not there, like you were saying, like just because of how things are spoken, how things are said, how things are presented.
Mm-hmm. And then you link in the word trust. You know what I mean? Like you link that word trust in, and it's like, whoa. Go ahead, Derek. What were you? He's been trying to talk.
I'm curious. I have a question for all you. Like, when are times that you have truly experienced that feeling, that energy of unconditional love?
My husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mother too. My mother personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Not every mother.
Experience with my mother and my husband is wonderful because I can be a jackass.
Can't we all?
And like you there was a time when I was trying to figure out so many things, and like he gave me space for that, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
My grandparents. I mean, lots of people, but I'm going to go right to my grandparents. Having grown up the way I grew up, my grandparents were always there for me. Anything, they were the ones that there were times when there wasn't food in the house or there wasn't whatever, but also as I got older, they made it clear that they loved me no matter what. And so for me, and you do hear a lot of people, talk about that. My grandparents, they were the first ones to love me. And I think they're the reasons I made it. I think that they're the reasons I was able to get out and go to college. And because I was lucky enough to know and to have that kind of love, even though I grew up in the environment I grew up in. And that's a blessing. And I have given gratitude for that always. And I will always honor that the role they played in my life was total unconditional love. Though they could, want me to work in a direction, but I knew they loved me.
Yeah.
What was yours, Derek?
My kids. I mean, me and my wife have an awesome relationship, but I mean, you were talking about the kids, and there's just an innocence there that unfortunately we kind of lose as adults. That's where, I think if you're part of spirituality, you kind of work your way back to that innocence, openness, but that innocent love that you feel from a child is not in this earth experience for me is just not a whole lot like it. I mean, I have a very supportive mother, and that she loved the shit out of me. So I don't know, but my kids, I think, for sure.
It is different. It makes you work harder. It makes you want to be a better person, and it makes you want to be a better guide. And I love like that.
It's there, but it's like, well, you said it. It just makes you want to. Makes you want to earn it more, or something like you have to do right by these little beings.
Yeah. Like, these little beings.
Purpose, a higher purpose. Like, you're not just raising them up to be good people. You're raising them up to be souls, to teach them, to help them grow. Because there's agreements there, not on this earth realm. I mean, they're with you for a reason. You're their parents for a reason. They're your kids for a reason that we may or may not understand this earth realm. And
yeah.
For me, like through spirituality, recognizing that too gives it a whole nother level.
We just got a couple comments, and so Rachel says her own children opened her up and made her know that love is for real. And then I have a comment on my feed, and it says, I would say my Grammy and my mom thought both were awesome women. So that is so cool. I love that.
Well,
We're
I
taught.
want to say, Annette, you've been trained in shamanism, right? You actually went through an actual training. And so with that question, unconditional love, because a lot of shamanic practices view it a little bit differently, with reciprocity and the idea of reciprocity. So I'm curious for you, what is that for you?
Well, actually, I'm thinking, and I'm like, I did not know unconditional love as a child. I think my great grandmother was probably the one who exhibited it. But I always felt like there were, the better I could be as a child, I did good things. Then that's where the love came in, and so the better I could be, the more love that I would receive. But it was conditional because I needed to do something to earn it. And I was just thinking about, but my great grandmother was just, we had grandma's Christmas party every year, and so all the kids decided what they were going to do for grandma, entertainment, whatever. And so this kid, he was new to our family. He was like a stepson of one of my other relatives, and so he didn't really understand, grandma's Christmas party, that it was like, religious or whatever. And so he wanted to participate, so he put on the music. I don't know if y'all remember, James Brown had a song called Ain't It Funky Now? So he starts dancing and doing the funky chicken. So everybody wanted to silence, and they're like, no, turn it off, it's not. And my grandma was like, oh, let him do what he's doing. I want to see it. And she was just so innocently just loving that the kids were. So that was, as I'm thinking about it, that was my first feeling that she really did love us unconditionally. There was like nothing that she didn't show anything but love, basically. But it was my youngest daughter. One time we were riding in the car, and there was a homeless person, and she was like, Mommy, can we please give this person some of our food, and it just caught my attention that she even noticed. She was pretty young, and I just questioned her. I was like, well, what is it? Why do you think we should? Do you think we're rich or something that we can give this person all our food? And she said, no. And I said, well, what do you think we are? She said, I just think we're some people who have some food. And this person needs some food. And
Oh my God.
Oh,
That is the sweetest thing ever.
see,
oh, that is
It's
beautiful.
that simple. It's that simple though.
Yeah. See,
Out
that's
of
the
the mouth of
innocence.
babes.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
I think unconditional love for me did not come when I was, a child per se. But I had to, in your question, Lauri, that you were asking in terms of the shamanism, and I really did come to a place where I felt unconditional love for myself. And it was during the time that I was doing a Sundance, and it was the most beautiful thing because I just felt like, oh my God, I am lovable, and I don't have to do anything to receive this love that I'm feeling right now. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love what you just said. Oh,
Yeah, it was
I know.
beautiful, and it goes to also, and I know that the cattle aren't the only ones. The concept of reciprocity, and we can't just receive love. We have to give love. So and that's the idea that we can't survive if we just take. And receive, we have to give as well. So there is a counter to this. There is this counter, and that for me, spirituality. With that, if I'm with want unconditional love, then I have to give unconditional love. Then and not only with humans, but I have to with for me in my spirituality, this includes everything. This includes the earth. This includes the water. This includes everything. And so here I am receiving these beautiful gifts from spirit. I have to give back. I have to give gratitude back. If I don't, I'm not walking in balance. I do not have a reciprocal relationship. And if I do not reciprocate, then what's going to happen. I'm going to become out of balance, and my connection with spirit is going to weaken because I'm not doing my part. And that is for me, that's at the center of my core beliefs with my spirituality, is the balance that's necessary. It's true in the marriage, right? For our marriages, we can't be the one that's doing all the taking, and then and our spouse is doing all the giving. It's got to be back and forth, and that's what it is. It's almost like it's a marriage with spirit, and so it has to be there, because that's how that true feeling of love, the energy of love it expands, and it is an expansion, because spirit is made up, we're all made up of energy, the divine energy. So the more I focus in on that and make sure I'm giving, the more I'm receiving.
Can I just tell you guys, I'm having like this huge epiphany, and that I swear to God, you just said something that just like completely rocked my world. You said, just by being, we are loved. You said something along those lines, but that's what I took from it.
Yeah.
I am like, I'm just like, wow. Like that just, my whole week is like, I mean, like, I'm telling you, like, I'm going to live on that.
And that always comes out with the doozies. She always does. She'll be all quiet, and then all of a sudden she comes with this zinger, and you're like, oh my God.
But think that through. Just by being. Like, we're just here. We're just sitting here. We're not doing anything. We are loved. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when you were doing the dance, I think that is amazing, in that, because it was the Sundance, you said, right? What are you were giving something in that. You're not just receiving, right? There was this mutuality that it's happening.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
We gave love to the tree that we used as the center point in the Sundance itself, and we put this salve kind of stuff on the wounds from where the tree was cut, and like really, I was so in love with that tree. I mean, I had so much love for that tree. And that tree, oh my gosh, gave me so much love back. Like that was when I really felt like so much love. Like, it's like, I didn't know it existed like that.
That is so cool.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. I mean, since I started really practicing shamanism, it like you were saying, Lauri, it's a beautiful relationship with spirit, and knowing that everything has a spirit, everything is alive, everything wants to connect with you. And the more you connect with it, the more you receive. And it's not even about like trying to receive. It's just that the more you connect with it, the more you give love, the more you give that healing, the more you give that attention, it's returned to you in such beautiful ways.
Yeah.
And that is spiritual. That's spirituality.
It is. I mean, I think I told you this before. I was doing this meditation for like that. It was sending energy to the earth, and I went into the meditation, and the earth started Mother Earth started actually talking to me, and I felt that unconditional love from there. I felt the pain she was going through, and like seeing all the shit we're doing to her, and still the unconditional giving, the giving that would never stop.
The giving, yeah.
And that was like a true epiphany. Also, it's like, damn, that's unconditional. That's wow, that's beautiful. And I think that's there's something behind that. Like I was saying, like a lot of the readings, a lot of people are practicing shamanism because it is just a return to what's true to us. I mean, like I'm resonating with like Hawaiian shamanism and like the principles of Puna. And one of the 7 principles is effectiveness is the measure of truth. And if it feels true to you, if it resonates with you, if it's that feeling of love, light, and harmonizing you and all that surrounds you, that's God, truth, love, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you're on the right path. That's what you're vibing with.
Yeah.
No matter what it is for you.
No, you want to.
I think we found it.
Yeah,
I think we found the spirituality thing. Like we found it. That's it.
And a mind blower, because this came into me once, is Jesus. And true love. That unconditional love, and Jesus as a man. And he loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
And he gave unconditionally. And that came in for me during a session for someone. And in that, I could literally see it. And I also, in that sense saw like, Mary Magdalene and what did she give in return? Love unconditionally.
Yeah.
And in that, and the compassion for all, there was no judgment whatsoever. And for me, that's the key too, is the, we don't judge. When spirit brings in information, whatever I feel, I don't judge it. Don't judge it, just accept it and take it. And that is the other, for me, a huge piece of this is, and that's hard. Our human conditioning, man, we've been conditioned to judge.
So true.
But those are the good things about Christianity and the Bible. Like those stories are like key, because there's so many good things, but it's like the things that are without rules.
Yeah.
The things that are taught, like the unconditional love and Mary and and Jesus. You know what I mean? Like he was out there with the lepers. He wasn't like, oh, you can't come in. Like I'm not going to feed you because I might have to touch you. You know what I mean? He was touching them. And it's like those to me are the good things that I took from my youth and my Christianity and my Catholic upbringing. So it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. There's just other things that really in my opinion, there's so many things that harm people, you know, and if we could just kind of like let those go and stick with the unconditional love part and those good pieces, like it'd be so much better.
But here's my question or I should say, are those icky parts of what we consider maybe icky parts? Well, individually you consider icky parts.
Yeah. Like,
Is that part of the human experience? Like, are we supposed to experience that? Just a thought, you know?
We learn from our trauma.
Yeah.
As shitty as our trauma is, that's what we learn from. The shittiest relationship you have,
Yeah.
that's what you learn from. That's
Yeah.
we learn from those awful things. We learn from the things that don't make sense, and then we have to make sense from them. We learn from, you know, from crappy things that happen.
Yeah.
Like, we learn from our trauma.
Yeah.
We don't have it. You know, those hard lessons are still really good lessons. It's a shit pile to go through, but
Yeah.
when you come out of it, you're so much stronger, and you're like, that doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
I had
You
a
know?
friend say something to me. We were talking about, some groups of people have experienced such generational trauma, and there has been so much trauma, that has occurred, and that is like, we're having this very conversation that had to do with even being careful of what we say around that, because, if trauma is loaded upon trauma is loaded upon trauma, right, it can be very difficult to suddenly be, free of that.
Find your way out.
And so when, this person was saying to me, it's just to be aware of that when we're speaking to people, so that there is, even without us meaning to, there's no judgment there. It's not like any of us would ever mean to do that, but it's like, sometimes some of the language, even around enlightenment, like I was saying, there is, God bless, I knew someone who was sat on a plane next to a woman who had just lost her kid. And my friend, without thinking, said of all the things to say, well, I guess she wasn't meant to be here anymore.
Oh.
One of those sort of phrases, like, and the woman like ripped into her, and my friend comes and says, I understand. I was just trying to explain this whole philosophy to her. I said, well, she just lost a baby. She just lost a kid. She didn't want to, you got to let her be in herself, and we can't tell someone. It was like interesting. So it's like just being tuned in, I think, is a piece of it. And it's hard to do sometimes because you're really into what you're doing. And to, that was, is I think that's what I feel is a personal responsibility for me as a part of my contract, my agreements to work in this, to just be tuned in.
That can be so difficult too. I mean, knowing when to speak and knowing just to be, kind of like Annette was saying, sometimes people just need us just to be there. Mm-hmm. They just need us to be. They need that ear. They need our energy, simply our energy. Just that compassionate energy. That is sometimes the greatest healing for people. Not the advice, not the words. It's just your energy, knowing that they are simply not alone.
But it's also those people that show up in the middle of the trauma. Yeah. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to make it through that without this person that came out of nowhere, or, like they said the right thing, or they said the wrong thing and you talked about it, or, like that's a huge thing too.
Yeah, and the tidbits we pick up, which is funny. I remember sitting in my first degree was in recreation therapy, and I was in a class around recreation. It was a nature class, and the professor started to draw a spiral on the board and talk about one particular group of indigenous people and how they believed in the spiral, and how you go forwards and you go a little bit backwards, and this whole thing, and you learn something, and then you go on, and sometimes you got to go back to learn something and go on, and this whole thing. And I found that so profound, and I was like, yeah, I get that, because how many times, or for some of us, we either are sabotaging ourselves, or we feel like we're always being pulled backwards, one step forward, or wherever that saying is, and that is so true, and it's a growth. process. It's a growth process. I mean, I couldn't go back in time and tell my 21-year-old self, my 21-year-old self wouldn't even believe me if I said, oh, I am
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I think that's a great point you said too. Just, learning the lessons, but going back, because a lot of times when we have these traumatic experiences, we don't always know why that happened. But as we learn and grow, we're like, oh, okay, now I'm learning the lesson. Okay, now I can forgive that person that did me wrong back then, or I thought that did me wrong back then, or now I can have that acceptance from there. So like you're saying, Lauri, the whole spiral, that makes a lot of sense, because we do. I mean, we can't just go through something traumatic and just keep on pushing. We have to feel, we have to experience. And,
Gosh.
Everybody's talking about cutting cords. I mean, we have to learn the lessons. We have to go through the experience. We have to honor the experience for what it is, an opportunity for growth and medicine for us. And until we learn those lessons and deal with them, if we don't, we're gonna keep on having experiences like that. That's the, whatever you want to call it, the teaching of the spirit. So it is very crucial to, I don't know if I wouldn't say hold on to shit, but really learn the lesson of the
Go through it.
experience.
Go through the
Go
shit.
through it.
Yeah.
And some shit stinks really bad. And you really just have to want to hear it. And and it continues to stink no longer how far you are from it. And that's one of the things that I've worked a lot with people who are sexual abuse survivors, a lot. And and it is something that each of us, I almost say for some cases, it's not even cutting the cord, it's healing the cord, because it's incest, or, it's hard, right? You want to just sever that cord, but that's not always possible for everybody. So there's all that stuff, but it's like the whole idea, can be another icky, sticky thing, is this whole idea of forgiveness, right? And it's really moving to a place within yourself that you're healed, and releasing, for yourself, so you can move on, allowing spirit to work with you so you can move on. And it doesn't even have to be total forgiveness, as long as you've gotten to a place that's healthy for you, that you're releasing the weight of it. And that is, I think, the most important part, because it's what's that trauma doing to you? How's it holding you back? And that, and that's it. That's the stuff. And for me, it's like allowing spirit to come through me and guide my language and guide me in how I, because I look at myself like a minister. I really do. And that, spirit is coming through me and working with me with everything I have.
So I want to share a story with you guys. I actually wasn't even going to talk about it, but it's right along those lines, Lauri. So Saturday, I was robbed. I was in the parking lot of the grocery store, and yes, I know I was an idiot for leaving my purse in the cart, like not even a foot from me, but it happens, right? This guy he took my wallet, and he hit the cart at the same time. So I turned around and I was like, what's going on? And I thought, I should check my spirit, I should check my purse, right? So I checked my purse and I realized the wallet's gone. So of course, I'm not one to just, you guys know me a little bit, but I'm not one to just sit around and whatever and say, poor me. I was like, hey. So I started screaming, and you guys already probably know I have a very loud voice, right? So I'm screaming bloody murder. And then what do? I take off running to the guy, right? And I call him and I said, hey. And I don't know what possessed this man to do this, because he's not a very good robber, right? He turns around. And so I walk up to him, and he was hiding the wallet with his bag. So I turned his thing over, and there was my wallet, and I grabbed it. And I said, get the hell out of here, or whatever it was I said. I don't know. Right? So I got my wallet back. So my point in the story here is that I remember thinking, as I got back and I was talking to these people, and my license plate of my car says happy medium, right? So all these people were coming around, and then finally we're all calming down and whatever. And this lady goes, so happy medium? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, are you a medium? And I said, yeah, and she goes, didn't you like know that this was going to happen? And I'm just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Right. All right. But that's not the point I was trying to make. I know, right? But wasn't the point of me telling you the story. But the point of me telling you the story was, I started realizing, oh, I'm going to cry. I started realizing how lucky I am. Like, I am so lucky, like, I'm not thinking, like, I have a choice okay. So in terms of this circumstance that happened, right? I had a choice. I could sit there and go, woe is me. What am I going to do? Oh my God, I have to call all the credit card companies. I have to call this. I have to do that. My driver's license, whatever, right? Or I could say, I'm the luckiest person in the world. I got my wallet back. I'm lucky because I have a very loud, booming voice, and it caught the attention of everybody in a probably half-mile radius, and I am so lucky because, yeah, maybe I didn't know it was going to happen, but you know what? Spirit worked it out that I got my wallet back,
Yeah.
and
Using your voice, by the way.
yeah, right?
Just saying.
Yeah. And it just was amazing to me. And so it's interesting because it kind of comes full circle there, in that what you were just saying, Lauri, is that we have choice as to how we're going to look at things. And I'm not saying that it's like easy to always find the positive. And I'm not saying it's easy to like appreciate the lesson, right? Because the lesson is completely learned here. For me, the lesson is like, Lauri, keep your stupid purse close to you, I mean, come on, but the point is that we do have a choice at how we look at that. And I have spent many, many years, and that's why, I'm sorry, I'm talking faster. I'm thinking faster than I'm talking. I've spent many years honing my response and how I do these things, how I think about these things, and I think that's why, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but I was talking before when I introduced myself that I'm figuring out how to marry mediumship and manifestation. And what happened to me Saturday was kind of like the marrying of those things in my head, because spirit taught me this lesson. Okay, Laura, that's your lesson, carry your purse close to your thing, close to your body. But at the same time, monitoring my thoughts and knowing that this was a huge wake-up call. It could have, my sister was like, Laura, he could have had a gun. I mean, literally 2 months ago, somebody got killed by gunfire in that parking lot, right? That was not the smartest move of me to chase after this dude, right? But I did, because it was adrenaline and whatever. And it was divine. I feel like divinely inspired in a sense, but my point is that we have choices, and it takes a long time to teach yourself how to find the positive.
Yeah.
I agree.
When I worked in AIDS all those years ago, this was what I really learned. Is like, here you are, go along, and for a lot of people, because I originally worked in methadone programs, you've got this addiction, you've got this stuff, and then you get this diagnosis, and back then, you didn't live long after the diagnosis. It was quick. And you're suddenly, so, I mean, I'm in my 20s, and I'm working with people who are suddenly faced with their mortality.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do with this? Mm-hmm. And it was, talk about, having teachers in front of you.
Yeah.
I had the most amazing teachers ever. Some, really, I mean, the lessons that they taught me are stuck with me forever. Others, not so.
Yeah. Right.
You know what?
Well, but those are the lessons. You know what I mean?
At the funerals.
Yeah.
I would go to the where there would be a funeral of 3 people. You know, the mom, the brother, and the sister, maybe. If you know, and then I would go to funerals where there were just so many people, and a lot of it had to do with, you know, here he had 2 addicts, but this one, you know, made amends and did all, you know, really worked on their stuff, because when they died, they wanted to be free of all of that. So they worked hard with that. And that leads me to my thing about, you know, as a medium, I say, here's my advice to you, to anyone, my medium advice: take care of your business with this person before they die. Don't, you know, wait and have regrets. Whatever you need to do and whatever choices you make, be good with them, because otherwise you're going to pay money and you're going to be going to the end because you want to talk to them on the other side to fix it.
Yeah, do it now.
And the funny thing is that when they pass, they're on the other side, not caring about it anymore. Right? So you're left with the humanness of it. Yep. Isn't that funny? Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, I mean, we have to, I love this discussion today, was just so amazing. You know, the spirituality and spirituality takes on many different forms, you know, and I'm sorry that I keep talking about this, but like the manifestation and mediumship or spirituality, it is totally married to each other. It is totally married to each other. It's so funny. I'm just, I don't know. I had so many epiphanies during this. That's 2 hours.
No, and this is where, you know, like, I've often said my Andean shamanic teacher, Mariana Quispe Flores, they don't have in Andean shamanism mediums and all those terms. No, if you know that everything is energy, right? And within energy, you know, the divine spirit comes in and within you, and you can do all of those things. And that's the key, is that, you know, it's like all the things I've done like 7 of them, weddings. I love doing weddings.
I've been thinking about getting like certified. I don't know what it's called.
Here's what I say to people. I say, don't get me to do your wedding unless you want a spiritual wedding.
Yeah, well, of course.
And then what I do is, you know, I sit with them, and one of the first questions I ask is, how do you want the prayer? What do you want to call it? Do you want to call it God? Do you want to call it Creator, Spirit? You know, what name do you wish me? And so we together work the prayer, you know, and then I will, of course, do my own thing. But it's the idea of, I work with them with the language because it's their wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm simply, once again, the conduit. And so, and that's the other place where I really learned to open up about it. If they want me, you know, whatever they want, I'll give them. And, but as long as it's spiritual.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, basically what you're saying is spirituality is spirituality is spirituality. Whether it's God, spirit, universe, source, whatever you call it, it's the same thing. It's all one, whatever, you know? And I love that. And it takes me back to one of the parts of our conversation about how like energy is it's what lifts you up. It's not necessarily the words, right? I mean, sometimes the words help, but it's not necessarily the words, it's the energy. Like Annette watched that whole thing and didn't know what those words were, but yet felt so enlivened. And you know what?
And I was just gonna say, and that describing it, I was like, like I was with her energy, just like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Her energy from the other thing, you know, like.
Well, and that's what Krishna Das talks a lot about in terms of like chanting. You know, I chant so much, you know, because you don't need to know what the words mean. I mean, I'm chanting in Sanskrit, but, you know, and of course, because I'm that way, I need to know what the words mean. But when you say those words over and over and over and over again, then it's just the vibration that you're left with. You know, and that's what's, I just, you know, so the bottom line is to this whole discussion is it's all about the vibration, feeling good and feeling good in your own skin, you know?
I agree.
I have to tell you, kirtan is what you're describing, Lauri. You're talking about.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm talking about. Well, I chant as separate and aside from kirtan, of course.
Have you been to a kirtan?
Oh gosh, love. Oh my gosh, love.
It's a call and response. It's chanting. It's done a lot with yoga and Hindu. It's
And dancing.
It's amazing. But
So
anyway,
much
my wife and I used to go because our shamanic practitioner did it, and she was a walla. And there's one that is a term that, like, who are the people that used to be at the airports and hand out the flowers?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So there is one that's a Hare Krishna. Right?
Yeah,
And
that's one of the best ones.
Yeah,
Hare
so
Krishna.
Maria says to me, she says, I just keep seeing the people at the airport handing out flowers. And then it was like, okay, we need to get by that. And then, like she does, she starts to chant, because when you get into it, you're calling. It's a call and response.
Yeah.
And it's very beautiful. And you have all these people around you doing this. Well, and at first, for those of us who, I graduated from high school in 1980. So, we are part of those. My mother was very worried about me getting hooked into a commune. Very worried. And so, so there's something in me that's like, what am I in now? Am I suddenly in a cult?
But when you let that go
Yes.
and you start to just, oh God, there's nothing better.
Yes, it's true. And the fact that's it. When I sit there and I'd be one of these people doing this, once again, I'd look there and go, am I in an alternate reality? This is Lauri Sheffer here. What in the heck am I doing?
I love it. I love that. That's so great. So before, okay, so we have about 13 minutes left. Don't ask me why I said that. We have about 13 minutes left. And I was thinking, Lauri, would you like, I know, I'm so weird. Lauri, would you like to sort of tell everybody what is upcoming?
Yes, I'm pulling it
At Evolvme.
At Evolvme.
Back up, because someone made a list for me, and now I have to refind it. Okay.
It's in Slack, and Rachel put it there for us.
I had closed Slack because I didn't want it to make noise. So we have the events that happen every single week is, of course, this one, the Evolving View, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Except for next Monday, we will not be on next Monday because it's Memorial.
Right.
Memorial Day,
Yeah.
And we want everyone to enjoy that weekend with their families, practitioners and listeners.
Yes, and also I know that I think Jakara tries to do, or maybe even you, Derek, too. Some people are trying to do a Tuesday night TikTok live to do readings at 8 p.m. I try to do one on Wednesdays with Bayon at 8 p.m. a TikTok live. I might not be able to do it this weekend, but I'll get to that in a moment. On Thursday, we have the queer spiritual group that we do on Evolvme, and that is at 8 p.m. EST every single week. Please, hey, if you're queer and you want to join us, please do. It's talk about authentic. It's totally authentic. All right, so now we have the extra stuff. Main mental wellness events. We actually have one tomorrow at May 23rd. And are you in that one, or did you do last week?
Last week. I'm in the one tomorrow talking about Moon Eye, which is the concept of love from the Andean shamanic way of thinking. It's very, very similar to Aloha in a lot of ways. And there are some awesome practitioners in that. And that starts at 7 p.m. EST. And am I seeing it right? You can get that on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
And YouTube.
Right? Did I get it all?
And YouTube.
There is a Starseed School coming up starting on May 25th. And there's one other mental health one that is on the May 30th. So Starseed School starts on May 25th at 7 p.m. EST. It's a 4-week program. It's working with, is she working with adults to teach their children, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think so. And boy, that's a fantastic program.
That's
Starseed. raising star seeds.
Raising star
And how
seeds.
to help them.
Right. And then since we have Annette right here, she can talk about the Sophia code.
Yes, the Sophia Code is a 13-week course. It's a journey through the codex known as the Sophia Code, channeled by Kaya Ra, who had an atrocious life through her whole entire childhood, and was extremely suicidal by the time she escaped where she was. And the whole thing that came out of it was her channeling, her transmission, I guess you could say, of the Sophia Code. And the Sophia Code is, this is the volume 1, so there will be more volumes, but this is meeting the 8 Ascendant Master Key Code mentors, all feminine. That include White Buffalo Woman, Isis, Hathor, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. And for those who don't know, Mary Magdalene was awesome. She doesn't get the credit that she actually is in the stories that we read about her, like in the Bible. She was so powerful. Did I say Kuan Yin? And so we will each week will be one chapter of each one of those key code mentors, and a whole outline in the chapters before about how the Sophia Code came to be. It's a powerful experience. I've taken people through this journey several times, and it's so empowering, and we really can tap into that. These are the essence of who we are in terms of, you know, our spiritual strength and the empowerment that we have within us. It's in the chapter with Hathor, we talk about the crystalline DNA and how the genome of our chromosome is like so empowered, and it's an aspect of ourselves that we don't even know exists. But there's activations to each chapter in being able to more embody all of these qualities. I get really excited about it, but all I do is, you don't want to miss it.
When does that start? That starts on what date?
June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay.
I need, if I don't know if people have registered yet or not, but you definitely want to have a copy of the Sophia Code prior to the class starting. And you can get it on Amazon or at any bookstore, probably. If you can get the hardcover, get the hardcover, but if not, the paperback will do.
Great. Thank you. Now I have one more thing to say because I think it's sort of cute. So one more Evolvme, there are many practitioners on Evolvme who do many different things. And one of them is Sam Mark, who works with me and does the queer group. And she actually is going to be on a Netflix show called The Ultimatum. So when they view that, like those reality shows, she is the co-person that does the group with me. So, you can find her on Netflix starting on Wednesday night. So I'm invited to the watch party. And so now I have to decide if I want to do my TikTok live or if I want to go to the watch party.
That's awesome.
What time is the watch party?
Well, the watch party, since you can just email Sam and say you'd like to join the watch party, and she can send you the link. But it starts on Netflix so it's pretty fun. We got lots of different types of practitioners who do lots of different things.
Awesome. I'd like to mention that I have a workshop on Evolvme coming up next week. Next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. It's called Manifestation Madness. And we are going to talk about everything manifestation and why things aren't working for you and how to make that better, how to create new ways of thinking for yourself. And it's highly personalized. Yeah, it's going to be a hands-on roundtable workshop, and no question is off the table. So that'll be next Thursday night on Evolve, or next Wednesday night on Evolvme. So thank you. All right, guys. This was fun tonight. You guys, this was so amazing. You know, we are so, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but we are so lucky that we are able to be comfortable enough with ourselves, be comfortable enough in our own skin, and get rid of the fear that we have in our life, that many, many people have in their lives. We are so fortunate for that. And to be able to share this with you guys, and talk about spirituality openly, talk about mediumship, talk about spirits, talk about ghosts, talk about whatever, anything metaphysical. This is so, I think that this show that we've created is so important. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for coming, and everybody listening. Yes, Lauri.
Can we just ask what's the next topic?
It is spirituality in daily life. Okay, so we're going to talk about things that you can do to enhance your own spirituality. And what's great about that conversation is that we will be able to, like, you might hear something that you've never thought of doing before that might open everything up for you. So I'm really excited about that. So join us next week, everybody, and have a great, not next week, 2 Mondays from now.
Can't hear you, Melanie. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I was saying yes, next week. Next week, yes, not this week, or the week after
Yeah.
Memorial.
2 weeks.
We'll be back.
Awesome. So it was a great night.
I'm gonna go and
get on the road.
Driving. I'm sitting outside. I just popped out of the Rocky Mountains, so I've been driving for a couple days.
Oh my gosh.
Make my way home to Wisconsin.
Safe travels, dear one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun.
Bye, everybody. Have a beautiful night.